No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Bring up the house lights so now we can stand.
Rise up this morning. Rise up and say, love is I can feel it, spirits in this place. I can see it, shining on its rays. Rise up this morning. Rise up and say, love is alive in our hearts today. Here for each other, the way it's meant to be. Sisters and brothers, one great family. Rise up this morning. Rise up and say, love is alive everywhere in the world today. Rise up this morning. Rise up and say, love is alive in our heart, in my life, everywhere in the world, every place, in this place. Love is alive.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, welcome to Unity Renaissance on this spectacular Sunday morning. Isn't it just gorgeous out there? And a special welcome to all of you who are watching online today. You are with us in spirit. We're holding you right here in our hearts. Always so good to be together at the end of a week as we prepare for the next week, kind of recharge our spiritual batteries. Got a lot of great things planned today, so I'm glad you're all here and watching online to be a part of it. Well, unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We follow the teachings and the example of our way shower, Jesus, in seeking to more fully love ourselves, love God, and love one another. From that beautiful consciousness of love here at Unity, we honor all paths to God, all names for God, and all expressions of God. And each and every one of you radiant souls, looking particularly bright this morning, each and every one of you and all of you watching online, you are an expression of God. And we know that when we really get that about ourselves, we know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we connect with that divine light in us, and we behold that beautiful light in one another, that it just shines all the more brightly to light up the world. Our vision at Unity Renaissance is, together, a spiritually awakened world, living in peace, love, and joy. And we are manifesting that vision through our mission, which is, together, we transform lives that transform the world. Let's begin our time together this morning in prayer. I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Release and let it go. Settling into this now moment, knowing that you are in your right and perfect place. That indeed you are here this morning by divine appointment. As we come together this morning, we do so with hearts and minds wide open. We are here in celebration, mutual support, in the joy of sharing our spiritual journey. And so we just tune into now, letting go of all else, feeling our oneness, feeling our connection with God, and going forward into a ever higher expression of the love that we are. And for this time together, for the truths that we share, for the joy of sharing our spiritual journey, we are so grateful. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Let's stand up for choir. Trust me, God. By your self-stand, please. If you get some hands going. Yeah, now we're good.
I'm thankful.
So grateful. I am one.
The Spirit all around me. I'm thankful. So grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful. So grateful. I am one in the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful. So grateful. I trust in God.
I surrender.
I surrender.
I surrender. I am one.
The Spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I am one in the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I'm joyful, so joyful. I am one in the Spirit all around me. I'm joyful, so joyful. I trust in God. I'm joyful, so joyful. I am one in the Spirit all around me. I'm joyful, so joyful. I trust in God.
That's really cool. I invite you to join me now in that spirit of joy as we turn to greet our neighbor with a bow, a handshake, or a hug. Join me, please, in our divinity salute. Together, the divine in me greets the divine in you, and we serve and celebrate together for the glory of God. Hello, good to see you.
Here we go.
So great.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one. I trust Him. I'm joyful. Give yourselves a hand.
Well, good morning, Unity Renaissance. Wow. The light of God really does look beautiful on you this morning. It really does. Well, my name is Chavez Pruitt, and it's a joy to be your platform host for this beautiful Sunday, January 26, 2020. Our centering thought for today is, let go, let God. Will you please join me in declaring this morning's affirmation? I let God be God in me. Meister Eckhart, 14th century German mystic, taught, all that God asks all that God asks you most pressingly is to go out of yourself and let God be God in you. Reflecting on Eckhart's words, I remember that whatever I'm doing, I need never feel frustrated by the limits of human wisdom and understanding. Letting go and letting God reminds me that God's presence is with me throughout every experience of my life. God's love, life, wisdom, understanding, and strength are mine. Even my inner power of release works through me whenever I call upon it. My human self, together with the indwelling presence of God, the Christ in me, brings good into my life. Our words today are inspired by that of Jesus. The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. The Gospel according to John, the 14th chapter, and the 10th verse. If you desire a more personal connection with the divine today, we have prayer chaplains who will meet you in our chapel immediately after this service. They can be recognized by their beautiful prayer stools. I'm going to ask them to stand. We have a wonderful team of prayer chaplains today, Deb, Jess, and Sheila. The chapel is located just across from the narthex, adjacent to the bookstore. And now at this time, we're going to ask that you all stand as the very talented, beautiful Lily Scott leads us in the singing of the Lord's Prayer.
Thy kingdom come. 'Thy will be done. 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 'Thy will be done.
This Thursday marks the beginning of the 22nd annual Season for Nonviolence. It's a 64-day period that begins on January 30th, which is the anniversary of the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi in 1948, and it extends through to April 4th, which is the anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968. The Season for Nonviolence was co-founded by Gandhi's grandson, Dr. Arun Gandhi, in collaboration with the Association for Global New Thought, which is a sister organization to Unity. And the purpose of this 64-day Season for Nonviolence is to embrace and encourage nonviolence as a powerful way to heal and transform our lives and our world. And over these many years, people in more than 900 cities in 67 countries have participated in the Season for Nonviolence. And yet, nonviolence itself is widely misunderstood. Often when you hear the term nonviolence, people think it just means an absence of conflict, or that to be nonviolent means that you're going to be passive or submissive. When in truth, nonviolence is an incredibly positive and courageous strategy for achieving social justice. Now, Jesus knew this, and he used nonviolence to spur revolutionary change. A lot of times people miss this. We think about the Prince of Peace. We forget that he was a political revolutionary. And people read some of his teachings about nonviolence and misinterpret them. For example, when it says turn the other cheek, they think that means to be basically a passive doormat, sort of, well, hit me again then. Or to resist not evil means to succumb or to submit to the opponent. Go the second mile sounds like it means to go along with the oppressor and just extend yourself a little further. But in fact, if we understand these teachings in the context of the time in which Jesus was speaking them and sharing them, we can see that they were actually revolutionary calls to courageous action. So let's look at what these passages said all together. This is from the 5th chapter of Matthew. You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer, but if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Within this one passage, this set of teachings, Jesus is actually offering to his listeners 3 ways to reclaim their own dignity and self-worth, not by arming themselves, but by disarming their oppressors. So let's take a little closer look at each of these. First of all, if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other cheek also. Well, let's consider how this would have worked back then. And for this, I need a little help here, Richard. Would you step out here? Now, what I want you to understand is that I would never in a million years do this. This is strictly for demo.
Or for practice.
All right, back in that day, if you wanted to strike someone to inflict harm, you would use the right hand and hit the person's left cheek, like so. You would never use your left hand because the left hand was considered unclean and it was not to be used publicly. So it would have to be this. But Jesus says if someone strikes you on the right cheek, for it to be a strike to the right cheek would have to be this, a backhanded slap. Now the purpose of this kind of backhanded slap, you're doing great, would be not so much to hurt someone as to insult them or to humiliate them. It was the kind of gesture that would be from someone of a superior level to an inferior level. So for example, from a master to a slave, or from a parent to a child, or a Roman to a Jew.
Or wife to a husband.
No. What did you say? You're messing with me. All right. Anywho, so this is really significant. So Jesus was saying, if someone strikes you like this, turn the other cheek also. Now the oppressor is in a pickle, because now you got to decide what you're going to do. The only option, turned like this, which is really an act of defiance, is for the person who is inflicting the blows to do this. But if he does this, first of all, he may hurt the person, because typically you would use a fist. But even more significantly, this kind of strike to the left cheek was between equals. It was between peers. So simply by turning your cheek, you elevated your status from being of the inferior level to being an equal. Well, this would completely disarm the person. Be like, well, what do I do now? I can't do that. So that's the whole point, is to put them in a different place so they can't just follow the normal rules and do what they've always done. Thank you, my love. Well done. Same kind of thing with the second teaching. When he says, if someone asks for your coat, give them your cloak also. Okay, so here's the deal. Back then, the coat was the outer garment. The cloak was the inner garment. The cloak was essentially your clothing. So quite often, the coat was used as collateral. If someone would sue you, or you'd use it as collateral for a loan or for debt. So what Jesus is saying is, if someone sues you for your coat, give them your cloak also. Well, his listeners would have immediately known what this was implying. You're going to take off all your clothes. You're going to be standing there naked. That is not what the oppressor was expecting, right? So again, you've worked with the energy, you've moved in the direction of what they were sending your way, but you've sort of channeled that into an act of resistance. And in so doing, you throw the opponent off kilter. Causes them to have to think, what am I going to do now? Not only can this work, it actually has worked. So there's a story in a book I love called Jesus and Nonviolence. And in it, Bible scholar Walter Wink shares this story. He says, under the apartheid regime in South Africa, the authorities had for a long time sought a way to destroy a particular shantytown without success. Then one day, after most of the men and women had left for work, the army arrived. The soldiers announced that the few women there had 5 minutes to gather their things, and then the bulldozers would commence to work. Well, the women, perhaps sensing the prudery of the farm boys who largely made up the army, stood in front of the bulldozers and stripped off all their clothes. The army fled. You know, it's brilliant, right? It's brilliant. So the third one is about walking the second mile. So back in that day, it was allowed for Romans to give their heavy military pack, probably around 60 or 80 pounds is how heavy it was. They could ask a Judean to carry their pack for a mile, but no more than a mile. There were mile markers all along the road, and anything over a mile was severely punishable under military law. Well, you can see where this was going. Jesus is saying, if they ask you to carry the pack for a mile, offer to go ahead and carry it a second mile. Well, this would have completely thrown off the Roman, because now he's in that predicament, not knowing how to respond. His thought might be, wait a minute, so you're going to carry the pack, and you can just imagine the Judean saying, hey, I'll just carry it another mile for you. And the Roman thinking, wait, what's going on here? Are you trying to provoke me? Are you insulting me? Are you trying to be kind? Are you my friend? What's going on here? Not really knowing what to do. So again, by turning the tables, by moving in the direction of the oppression, but continuing on, again, in this case, you're moving from that position of being in the one down to being at the level of an equal. To walk on for that second mile would be to be doing so as an equal. It's an incredibly powerful ways to restore the sense of dignity and give people back their power. So Jesus was teaching the art of non-resistance to his disciples. This idea of taking unexpected or even exaggerated action to disarm the oppressor and very possibly spur a change of heart or a shift in their behavior. You can imagine in some of these cases where if they'd had this episode, people taking off their clothes or walking too far or whatever it is, they're like, I don't think I'll bother that person again, right? That's what you're going for. You're going for the change of heart, a shift in the heart. And that's really what all of the nonviolent movements, resistance movements throughout history have been aimed at, getting through to the humanity of people so that you can create a shift of the heart. And when you take people out of their roles and their assigned tasks and the way they've always done it, you suddenly create that space, that opportunity for them to be a human being and relate to you in that way. This is vitally important throughout history and particularly now. In his book, The Handbook of Nonviolence, Michael Nagler talks about the importance of appealing to humanity and seeing nonviolence as the mechanism for that. He says, because all violence begins in the failure or refusal to recognize another as fully human. The deeper reaches of nonviolence must involve reawakening the humanity of one's opponent. We're appealing to their desire to be human again when we keep the personhood of the other in view. This is why nonviolent resistance has been known to win over even heavily armed, highly determined opposition. He offers an example in his book that I found quite compelling. In 1963, in Birmingham, Alabama, Black marchers, inspired by the intention, quote, to win our freedom, and as we do it, set our white brothers free, in the words of one of their leaders, found themselves unexpectedly blocked by a line of police and firemen with dogs and hoses. The marchers knelt to pray. After a while, they became spiritually intoxicated. They got up off their knees as though someone had given a signal and steadily marched toward the police and firemen. Once they got within earshot, some of them said, "We're not turning back. We haven't done anything wrong. All we want is our freedom. How do you feel about doing these things?" Even though the police commissioner, a notorious segregationist, repeatedly shouted, "Turn on the hoses," the firemen found their hands frozen. The marchers walked steadily on, passing right through the lines of the police and firemen. Some of these men were seen to be crying. Power of nonviolence to shift the heart. It's almost unimaginable to think about how much courage that took, right? And so many other demonstrations. But they were filled with spirit. They were filled with God. And that gave them that courage to go forward and to march into their opponents. No wonder then that Gandhi used the term satyagraha to refer to nonviolent resistance. The technical meaning, the literal translation of satyagraha is clinging to truth. And it's more commonly translated as soul force. Soul force. You see, in order for these strategies to be effective, we are coming from the soul. And there has to be an ability to feel a oneness on a spiritual level with the other, even if they are nowhere near that level of consciousness or not in that place, no matter how hostile they may be feeling. It's that idea of being able to still stand for what you believe in while still respecting the other person, and to know that we are one. And when you have that framework, when you're coming from that consciousness, it begins to move the conversation or the situation from me against you to me and you against this situation, or me and you trying to solve this situation. You see, there's the brotherhood and the sisterhood, and we're all in this together. Well, these examples are so incredibly inspiring, and they always leave me and perhaps you wondering as well, what can I do? What can I do in my life right now to contribute to a less violent world? And let's face it, it's a pretty violent world right now, not only in terms of shootings and war and battles, but war of words and opinions and upset and fear and all of that. So what can we do? Well, in his book, The Nonviolence Handbook, Michael Nagler offers 5 different ideas, 5 basic practices for living a nonviolent life. And the first of these is avoid major media networks and outlets. Because what we don't necessarily realize or become sort of immune to is they're filled with violence. They are filled with violence and often fear evoking as a way to sort of trigger you or hook you to keep watching. It's very empowering to just turn it off and walk away. And what he is suggesting is that we turn to other sources for our news and our entertainment. And if you've ever done that, you know that that in itself can bring a lot of peace into your consciousness. And the second one, learn about nonviolence. These stories, this is a wonderful time in our country to really get familiar with history and to learn from people who've come before us. You can go to agnt.org. They have the Season for Nonviolence. There are all sorts of resources. Read about some of these folks and the incredible ways in which they lived these principles to change the world. In March, we're going to be showing a movie about the Dalai Lama, and in April here, we'll be showing Gandhi. So you'll also have an opportunity here to learn more about these amazing people. Third, take up a spiritual practice if you haven't already done so. If you don't already have one, or if you do have a spiritual practice, practice it. Meditation, contemplative prayer, heart math, whatever works for you. Because these spiritual practices take us to a deeper level of our humanity. And that's what we need, is to go deeper into our humanity, where we can meet with others at that level. Next, be more personal with others. I love this one. And really, all it's saying is that in your day-to-day life, when you're interacting with others, be there. Give them your undivided attention. It makes such a difference, even if it's just a 30-second conversation with the sales clerk or the delivery person or someone in the hall or whatever. Man, we need that right now. We need that person-to-person connection. And finally, take up a project and get active. Nothing provides as much relief or joy when you're feeling frustrated or that change is needed as to really connect with something that speaks to your heart. It could be something very small. We have lots of things here, ways to contribute to helping other people, making the world a better place, whether it's crocheting prayer shawls or writing to inmates or tutoring a child or feeding the homeless, whatever it is. Find it here or find it elsewhere. Lay hold of a project and get active. You know, really, when you add all of this up around nonviolence, what it's really saying is love one another, and more specifically, love thine enemy. Love those we perceive as the enemy. And this is the real depth of the soul work that it requires. And it's what we are being called to, particularly now in these incredibly divisive times, to connect at the level of our humanity, even as we stand for what we believe in. In this book, I think it's the Nonviolence, Jesus and Nonviolence, which was written in 2003. He said some things that really spoke to my heart, given what's going on in our country, given the climate of the times. And it's the opening of our hearts into compassion. And it says this: love of enemies is the recognition that the enemy, too, is a child of God. The enemy, too, believes he or she is in the right and fears us because we represent a threat against his or her values, lifestyle, or affluence. Our so-called enemies need to be reassured that there will be a place for them in the new society being born. When we demonize our enemies, calling them names and identifying them with absolute evil, we deny that they have that of God within them. that makes transformation possible. And then he says that the ultimate religious question today is, how can I find God in my enemy? How can I find God in that person I perceive to be the other, as my opponent, or so unlike me by whatever characteristic, whatever factor? How do I see the divine in them and connect with it? How do I continue to offer respect and dignity to that individual despite any differences? That's mighty spiritual work, and that's what we're being called into. In 1939, Gandhi wrote, "The more you develop nonviolence in your own being, the more infectious it becomes till it overwhelms your surroundings, and by might oversweep the world." So let's hold that vision together, and each of us in our own way do our part. Let's turn now to our meditation. I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and release and let it go. And one more time, breathing in deeply this beautiful sacred energy of God. And release it in love. Allow yourself to let go and relax. And knowing that you are being supported by the infinite, and that God is moving in and through you to guide your way. I invite you to connect with your heart space, feeling the peace that is there, in your mind's eye, beholding the unity of all life and all humanity, people like us and people very different from us. Open your heart and your mind to divine guidance as you ask the question, how can I contribute to a more peaceful world? Where can I build a bridge? How can I show compassion? In what way might I shift my thinking and my own heart to open it a little wider for someone else? Ask these questions and listen for your answer, your guide to living more nonviolently. Listen in the silence. Within us, we feel strength gathering within us as we channel our soul force, as we go forward living on purpose, doing our part to contribute to a world at one. And for all of this, we are grateful. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Lord.
Now it's time for the sharing of our love offering in support of this community, supporting us in our work as we show up to build bridges and transform lives. So I invite you to give in whatever way works best for you, remembering that if you wish to give via your smartphone, you can simply text the word give to 540-418-1228. And they'll get you all set up, nice and easy. Again, huge thanks to all of you who are giving in that way. Really makes life so much easier for us, and as always, extremely grateful for your generosity. So I invite you to hold your gift in your hand as we bless it with our offertory blessing. Together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Given is given back.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too.
Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
soloist was Susan Lang. Let's have a hand for Susan.
Hey, while we're pointing out soloists, let's hear for David Kennedy in that first song today. All right, turn to gratitude. Take a moment to turn to gratitude within, feeling the many blessings of this day, including these beautiful souls here in front of me. Thank you for bringing up the kids' offering. We're so grateful for the generosity of this congregation, for the love expressed through these donations. Now we send them forth as we do God's work in the world, transforming lives that transform the world. So it is. Amen. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Well done. Bye. This is a time in our service when we welcome those who are new to Unity Renaissance. If you're here today for the first, second, or third time, we invite you to raise your hand nice and high, holding up the appropriate number of fingers, 1, 2, or 3, depending on your first, second, or third visit. Great. If you're here for the first time today, we got some other newcomers there in the back. If you're here for the first time today, there's a little card in that bag that they're giving you. Fill it out, take it into the bookstore, and you get a CD, a copy of a previous service. When you come back on your second time here, you get 2 CDs. One is Positive Uplifting Music from Empower Music and Arts. The other is Sacred Unity Recordings. And on your third trip here, you receive a copy of the Daily Word. So we're so glad you came to be with us today. I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.
If you desire to make Unity Renaissance your spiritual home, it's really simple and easy to do. The only thing that's required of you is to take a 2-hour course called The Path to Discovery. There will be a couple of offerings coming up the next 2 Saturdays, and you can sign up out on the hall wall if you're interested. So we look forward to all of our new members coming soon.
We have some special treats for you after the service today. The Unity Sisterhood is serving up a wonderful lunch of wraps and sides for $5 per serving. The proceeds from their fundraiser will go to support inreach and outreach through the Sisterhood and through the church here. So we're very grateful to them for providing that. So that'll tide you over so you can come back at 12:30 for the annual meeting. The annual meeting is when we elect our Board of Trustees members. We have 2 openings, 4 candidates running for 2 positions. We'll also have an update on our finances, how we did in 2019, an update on our wonderful expansion project out here. I'll share with you some upcoming programs, and we'll have a Q&A. So I hope you come back for that. It's going to be a terrific meeting at 12:30. And now over to Richard for a special spotlight announcement.
Ta-da! Well, in case you all haven't noticed, the music that we hear here at Unity is very unique. You don't hear it anywhere else, and it's pretty unique to our New Thought and Unity congregations. And the people that write these songs are Grammy winners, Emmy winners, even Oscar award winners for their songwriting, and they've turned their songwriting powers to good. And once a year, all of these artists that write this beautiful music come together for the Posse Music Festival, the Empower Music Festival. And this year it's going to be at Unity Village, which gives us an opportunity, if you've never been to Unity Village, to visit this beautiful place, the center. We kind of call it our Mecca because it's our world headquarters. It's 1,500 beautiful acre place. Ricky Byers will be one of our keynotes. She'll be giving a concert in the tower this year, and she's getting the Grace Note Award. There'll be a lot of workshops all day long and evening concerts and music everywhere. So I'm offering a, whoops, I guess I left it out there. I have a little half-page flyer that has all kinds of deals for you. We've created some deals for congregations that we can bring groups in. So that's out at the welcome desk, and I will be there for you. You can buy just evenings. You can buy just meal tickets in evenings. You can buy single days, and I'll help you with your registration. If you're interested in getting a group to go, carpooling out there or flying out there, it's a beautiful way to visit the village and have a great time musically. Okay?
Thanks, Richard. It's awesome. You guys should come. It's going to be wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and so is the month of February. And I consider the month of February Soul Love Month. So just in time for Soul Love Month, we have the phenomenal Tom Baker. Stand up, Tom. So there he is. And as most of you already know, Tom is just a brilliant, phenomenal speaker and teacher. He's filled with so much wisdom. He will be offering a 4-session series called Matters of the Heart. You may sign up for 1, 2, 3, or you can take all of the sessions if you like, and the sign-up sheet is available out on the hall wall.
And we are offering this class online as well, but please do also sign up if you're planning to participate online, because we need to send you the link for the Zoom class. A week from today, our guest speaker will be the wonderful Reverend Richard Mekdeci. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped an announcement. I'll come back to that. I'm sorry, I apologize. All right, so rewind. Our next film coming up is Harriet. It's a fantastic film I talked about a little bit last Sunday. I've seen it twice already. I'll be back here for this on February the 7th at 7 p.m. It's about Harriet Tubman and the incredible courage she showed in freeing slaves in concert with the Underground Railroad. And here's the preview. Oh, we don't have
The promised land, I'm gonna leave you.
There's not much time. You got to be miles away from here before dawn.
Where is she?
Follow that North Star. If there are no stars, just follow the river. Listen for them. Fear is your enemy. Whoa, easy now.
I'm gonna be free or die.
I don't know if you know how extraordinary this is, but you have made it 100 miles to freedom all by yourself. Would you like to pick a new name to mark your freedom?
Harriet Tubman. You are welcome here anytime. If I'm free, my family should be too. I made up my mind, I'm going back. You're confident, composed. When trouble comes, you'll be ready.
Papers. Says here you're 5.5 feet tall. You ain't more than 5 feet.
Must have won my high boots that day.
Get back here. It ain't safe.
I come to get you. Bring all of you to freedom.
Do you know what would happen if you got caught? You got lucky, Harriet.
I made it this far on my own, so don't you tell me what I can't do.
For the promised land, I'm gonna leave you.
Harriet, welcome to the Underground Railroad. Everybody, everywhere is looking for you.
God don't mean people to own people. Find this thief and burn her at the stake. Every last drop of blood in my veins until this monster called slavery is dead. Ready?
So that'll kick off a Black History Month here. I hope you'll join us for that. Free admission, free popcorn, and we always have great discussion after the film. So now, I'll share with you next Sunday, our guest speaker will be Reverend Richard Mekdeci. He'll be talking about a clean slate, lessons from Groundhog Day. It's going to be great. It also happens to be Super Bowl Sunday next week. I need you to just take a moment. Go ahead and put the next slide up there, Lisa, and just see what the slide looks like for Super Bowl Sunday. I'm a Chiefs fan. You might have guessed that. Anyway, we're going to have a great celebration here. I'd like to invite Tony Porton up to tell you the details about that football fellowship next Sunday evening.
Well, when we finished the sanctuary modification, someone had the bright idea of having a Super Bowl party here. Turns out Super Bowl is trademarked, so we call it football fellowship because we don't want the big guys coming down on us. All right. As you can see, it's a potluck. We'll share snacks. We'll set a few tables up here, leave it kind of theater seating for those that aren't eating at the time. And I forgot to mention last service, it's also bring your own beverage of choice. Okay, and just remember the clear liquid rule.
Clear liquids in the sink.
Doors open at 5:30. Game starts at 6:30. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Go Chiefs. Hi, Humphrey. Humphrey's a 49ers fan. Love you, Humphrey, darling. We got a few other 49er fans in here. Well, somebody will be happy after this game. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. The nonviolence. Exactly. All right. Never mind. Moving on. I also want to just give you a heads up. The men's auction is going to be on February 21st. So this is the time. Start cleaning out those closets in your garage and kind of assimilating those items that you'd like to donate to the auction. It's going to be great this year. All right. That's it for the announcements. Let's stand together now and welcome in the children. Thank you, sweetheart. Light of God, we are walking in the So our YOUers are at rally, which is why we don't have them here today. We've got a big group there. So who would like to share what you learned today? Yes. Oh, you're so ready. Go, look at you.
We learned about cooperation, and cooperation means that everybody made like a robot, dragon, dinosaur, and we all, and that's cooperation. And we have a song to sing.
You have a song to sing. All right, let's hear it. Now. Here, let me hold this while you sing. Ready?
Okay. We have the world in our hands. We have the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands.
Nicely done. Anybody else? Yes, dear.
Today we learned about how we all have wisdom in us through God, and we took seashells and we listened to the ocean, and that's how God comes through us.
Nice. I love that. Thank you. Very nice. Gavin.
Wisdom is allowing the voice of spirit within to direct our lives.
Oh, yeah. Wisdom is allowing the voice of spirit within to direct our lives. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. You guys are so wise. Love it. Got the whole world in your hands, too. Big responsibility. All right. Let's stand together now and join hands. Hey, before we do, I want to recognize and appreciate Chavez completing his first Sunday in platform host. All right, please join me in our prayer for protection, followed by our peace song together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.